Olympic National Park, one of my favorite coastlines in the Pacific Northwest. Amazed by a 73-mile coastline, a perfect home for thousands of animals, and with its 100 species of seabirds, including a pit stop to one of my favorite animals in the park, the brown pelican, one of the largest seabirds in the Pacific Northwest. Although they don't breed, they come to Olympic's coast to feed, thanks to its biodiversity of food. The creeks and oceans of Kellogg Beach provide a food and safe haven for as many as hundreds of pelicans. But despite the bounty of food, there's just one reason these pelicans are here in Kellogg Beach. As evening comes, when the tide drops and the water tables drop, pelicans eat the critters within the shallow waters, and food are within reach. Thanks for the plankton attracting these fish, pelicans can feed on and a pit stop when they head south to breed. Life in Olympic nourishes the coast, forest, and mountains, nourishing life in Olympic National Park. Nearly 1 million square miles of protected rainforest soak up nearly 120 inches of rain every year, making Olympic one of the wettest national parks on Earth. And to grow moss in whole rainforests, life here flourish in these trees with their arms full of moss. In these trees live a tiny animal. It knows how to make a home here. Small as your hand, but tough. And so fast, it could be hard to capture on camera. She is a Douglas squirrel. Using the trees as her home, but not just for food, but for staying safe from predatorium. The leaves cover her from flying predators, and the trees are a hard place for ground-based predators to climb. What makes the squirrel a smart and cute little critter. So being elusive does have its games. So most times when you see a squirrel, you can just hear it. But that means predators can also hear it, including the squirrel's arch nemesis. Rarely seen in the park. This is the first footage I've ever filmed a coyote. To find enough prey, he must find new territory, even crossing through Olympic's highways. But you can never be too cautious with cars. Looks like you'll have to wait till dark when fewer cars are here, so the squirrels and other prey on the other side are safe. For now, I'm out of here. Olympic National Park is a wonderful treasure. Established in 1938, Franklin Roosevelt established it to protect the coastlines, ancient forests, and the ice-capped Olympic Mountains. with over 200 glaciers, some of the most glaciated region, the lower 48. It's always winter up here. Over the mountains of Olympic to Mount Olympus, some mountains here are 7,000 feet and full of glaciers. Some of the coolest in Washington. And with no volcanoes, glaciers are the active kind in these mountains. On top Hurricane Ridge, the coolest place a visitor can visit, seeing the Olympic Mountains and the Yellow Plains. Up high in Hurricane Ridge, the black-tailed deer stags are regrowing their antlers, which they shed every winter. Right now, shaking away mosquitoes that can feed on his blood. Come mating season, he'll scrape the falcon off, revealing the sharp points on his antlers to intimidate his rivals. But until then, he gets along with the other stags and doesn't get close to the females. But right now, since roads are being built, deer are having problems navigating through here. And this is a challenge that the deer have to face. A female deer, known as a doe, is accidentally got in the human part of Hurricane Ridge. It's not just the humans that cause a threat, but by crossing the roads to better grazing spots, cars are a constant threat to deer. And good grazing is on the other side. But cars have speed limit in national parks, meaning animals can safely walk past, but it's not always free animal safeness. After escaping the most dangerous part of the road, the deer has to cross the parking lot. If you're in an Olympic National Park, watch out for deer. Unlike stags, does don't pose a threat to visitors unless they're having babies. And this deer is just trampling along. And good grazings of flowers and grass, perfect for a deer's diet. But crossing for roads does have benefits. Predators like mountain lions and coyotes wouldn't dare crossing roads with too many people unless it's nighttime. But during the day, deer can walk through it, and people know to be careful, so deer can stay safe from predators once they go for the other side. This is the best footage of deer I have ever filmed. But it's best not to stay in humans for long. She has to return back to our wilderness life. One day her fawns will travel through roads and carrying on the legacy of this human explorer, which, of course, she's a deer. It's time to head uphill back into our wilderness life. And off she goes. Right now, she heads back into the woods, under the cover from predators. On top the bustling mountains, glaciers is a good way of survival in Olympic National Park. Carrying around fine silken clay, making these peaks look epic and more famous. The glaciers carry water downhill to the park's rivers, to the coast. Birds come out, like the brown pelicans, who are making a pit stop to Kellogg Beach on their way to Saffron, California. Hundreds come here to fuel. They'll stay here for the next few weeks, coming by from a nearby island and coming to Kellogg Creek, where lots of fish, easy pickings for those who can reach them, and a log rest over to clean feathers, like their own feather dresser. Even though there's no feather dresser, it's a version of hairdresser. The only threat is likely human visitors scaring them. There's lots of fish here, but there's another reason why the pelicans are here. There's another fish in the ocean where they can refuel on their journey south. The ocean is like 1 minute flight from Kellogg Creek. But with the incoming tide and deep water, those nutritious fish are out of reach. They'll have to wait for the tide to turn to get to their food. Life here wasn't always this abundant. 50 years ago, the pelicans here were on the brink of extinction by a pesticide called DDT. At the 1970s, they were listed as an endangered animal. DDT caused egg production failure, and most chicks did survive to hatch. But soon, since DDT was banned in 1972, numbers are growing fast until brown pelicans have officially been removed from the federal endangered list. Today, about hundreds of thousands of pelicans are forming the Pacific coast. Soon the pelicans will head back south. Some will stay here year-round. And until then, these guys must wait for the tide to get to their food. And right now, they relax in the creek and the log surrounding their island home. To the forest, water at sea here has been carried by glaciers, but it's not just glaciers that form the water in Olympic National Park. Thanks to ocean and the clouds nearby, and trees releasing water vapor, rain comes out unnoticed, making Olympic one of the wettest spots in the United States. And this place is a wonderful mosaic of life. To grazers. Olympic National Park is home to the largest unmanaged herds of Roosevelt elk. And by our campsite is a good chance of seeing these elk. These elk keep grazing in check, grazing up old, accumulating plants, and new growth comes, giving Olympic a good chance for new and healthy growth, and vital to the forest's survival. and helping, named after Theodore Roosevelt to protect them from extinction. 60 different species of mammals live in these forests they help maintain by grazing and eating the seeds that spread the trees. The cycles of new and old growth keep this forest healthy, and also the water forming the forest. And we can also go to water in Olympic, like Crescent Lake, Olympic's biggest lake, home to a bustle of creatures. Ducks. At least 15 species are in Olympic National Park. And this is the best footage of ducks in North America. Usually a free cat. Also here to spend summer to raise their young. Some stay here year-round, while others fly south for the winter. And some are here for Olympic's annual feast. For last year's salmon run, the fish were too big to fit in the ducks' mouths. And the next salmon run won't be here for a few more weeks. But there are remnants from last year's salmon run. And the ducks know it. Deep in the pebbles of the rivers and whole rainforests, juvenile salmon, known as parr, they spend the first years of their life trapped in fresh water and pebbles which feel like boulders everywhere, feeding on the river's aquatic insects and other food. The adult salmon laid the eggs and came out as baby salmon. It'll be another year before they head to salt water. There they'll spend the next 3 years there, growing up and changing their bodies. With only a 1% chance of making it to adulthood, this journey is a numbers game. But with billions of tiny parr, chances of surviving could be like 1,000. And it's not just calm rivers baby salmon hang out with. Calm streams deep in the rainforest are an ideal spot for baby salmon to live in. Here, the salmon will be more safer here. If any predator comes, they can hide in the aquatic plants. It'll be another year before the baby salmon head to salt water and out to the ocean to grow up. But once in the ocean, the salmon never forget their birthplace. After a few years, they'll return to the exact same spot where they left as a tiny fish to lay their eggs, but like their parents, it will be their only time. After they lay their eggs, the salmon die after spawning. But also, it's a help to Olympic's forest, carrying the nutrients from the sea and out to land. So even the rainforests rely on the fish's remains, not just grazing or raining. Another way of keeping the forest healthy. A place where Native Americans lived here for thousands of years. Olympic National Park, before it was established, say like a few centuries, home to 8 tribes who called this place home. They also rely on the annual salmon run for food, and the Salmon Cascades is a perfect place to see salmon. And the salmon nurtured people here for a long, long time, keeping them well fed. Once, this place had 2 dams, but a few years ago, the dams were knocked down, and the salmon continued their run. And like the salmon, the people here never forget their home. So will these tiny salmon. When they leave, their home place will be imprinted in their brains. Here in Olympic, new arrivals are about to beat the world that people once lived in. A fawn, what they call baby deer, has been born a few weeks ago, just north of the park by the visitor center. Mom is teaching her young how to survive through Olympic National Park, keeping her safe from mountain lions and coyotes. The fawn will be independent come springtime, but until then, she sticks with her mother. The spots that make her more adorable will disappear during the next few months of her life. Learning of this home with her mother, teaching her what her mother's mother had taught her, passing their knowledge of the park to the next generation. Harsh winds and North Pacific currents continue to make the Olympic coast a wonderful place for birds. And in Kellogg Beach, a popular hangout for visitors. And throughout it, over a 73-mile coastline, it's one of the largest undeveloped coastlines in the lower 48. Olympic National Park is home to some of the greatest tides in the lower 48. Some exposed rocks, which should leave a few tidal pools with water so that creatures can stay in while waiting for the tide and feed on the many creatures. And they must live with the tide. But if you're exposed, you freeze. Many animals survive many hours with thick skin with water, like these sea stars. Olympic National Park has more starfish than any national park in the Pacific Ocean. They only have a few hours to wait until the tide comes in and water will cover them and letting them find their food. For the Pelicans, they still have to wait when the tide is out. It can mean a long wait, but luck will change. At evening, the tide is turned and water levels drop at the shore. The moment the Pelicans have been waiting for. They just need to wait for a few small waves and then get them with the beaks. A saltwater feast within reach. And picking up what's left are the seagulls. Yum. Olympic is a haven for its seabirds. And also saying one of Olympic's most acrobatic stunts. Brown pelicans are the only pelican species that plunge dive. The pelicans will leave once the tide is out or if the beach gets too crowded. Some pelicans will stay here year-round, but most will head south to the breeding grounds. And this place is a good refill for the pelicans. Flying around with their 6-foot wingspan and a beak to dig in, they're perfectly at home at Olympic's coastline and the other coast in North America. But it's not just the coast that forms Olympic National Park. Olympic National Park is not just for coastlines, but also forest and mountain tops. As the largest national park in the Pacific Northwest, it's a haven for its wildlife over both coastline, forest, and mountain tops. With adorable little critters and fish to forest grazers. I hope you enjoy Olympic National Park and everyone who sees this wonderful video of Olympic National Park.